Hilchos Bechoros Perek Chamishi, the laws of the firstborn, chapter 5. Shavua Tov. We're recording this class at a very unusual time. Usually the class is for Shabbos. I like to record on the Friday, but in this case, Friday was Chag, Thursday was Chag, and Wednesday was Hoshana Rabbah. There was so much going on. So we decided to delay the class till Motzei Shabbat, till after Shabbos. And what a special 3 days this has been. I think in my entire childhood growing up here in the Chabad, I don't think we've had such a joyous Shmini Atzeret and Simchat Torah, the Hakafot of Hope on Wednesday night, and the soldier that came to speak, and the whole ceremony, and then Shmini Atzeret itself, with Yizkor and Simchas Torah, with the Hakafos at night and Hakafos by day, and then we went right into Shabbos. Shabbos Bereshis, according to Hasidic tradition, Shabbos Bereshis, the way you set yourself up on Shabbos Bereshis is the way it goes all year. And it has a very personal meaning for me too, because today was my birthday, the 24th of Tishrei. But today, on a personal level, was like my new year. And so that statement of setting yourself up on this Shabbos for the whole year has a very personal meaning. And one of the elements of setting myself up for the entire year was making sure that we don't miss the Rambam class. And I didn't record it yet, so I felt it was important that we record it tonight, even though not many people were able to stay. But it's been 72 hours of celebration. Nevertheless, Rambam every day. One parak of Rambam every single day. It tells us about the consistency of Jewish learning, especially having just come now from Simchat Torah and just started reading the Torah anew. How much more so is it important for us in our own lives that whatever patterns of Torah study we have going on every day, we should keep the consistency and make sure we do them every single day. So here we are, also doing Rambam, even though it's been a loaded couple of days, but we got to end it off on a high, and then from here we go out, as the other Hasidic tradition is to announce V'Yaakov halach l'darkei. Jacob hit the road. It's time to hit the road. We've taken this packed month of holidays, and now we want it to come out and influence the rest of the year. So, without further ado, let's get to the Rambam. We're talking about, of course, the laws of Bechor. Firstborn kosher animal is holy. If it has no blemish, it's sacrificed. If it has a blemish, it goes to the Kohen. The question of today is going to be, what about doubts? We're going to have multiple scenarios of doubts related to a Bechor. We're not sure if a certain animal is a firstborn or not. Who has the rights to this firstborn animal? That's going to be the basic subject we're going to be dealing with today. Also at the end, we're going to be talking about multiple cases where you have an animal that was bought with certain funds, and that transaction itself exempts it from future firstborn laws, as we're going to be talking about in detail at the end of the chapter. But first we begin with the doubts. It says that Rambam halacha aleph, Rachel shalei bikra. You have a female sheep that never had children before, and now it's pregnant, and you know that whatever child's going to be here, it's going to be its firstborn. Question is if it's going to be a male or a female. And guess what? V'yolda shnei zcharim, it was twin boys. And you don't know which one is the first. Afilu yatzu shnei rasheim ke'echad, even if you observe both of their heads coming out at once, we have to know, according to halacha, that it's impossible that neither of them was first. One of them had to have been first. Since you don't know which of them came out first, and only one of them is definitely a Bechor. So the law is that the Kohen takes the weaker one. Okay, here on these charts, when you have a standing sheep and a lying sheep, that's our signal for stronger sheep and weaker sheep. So they're both boys. One of them is a Bechor. Since you don't know, the Kohen takes the weaker one. V'hasheni is fake Bechor. But the second one still must be treated as a doubtful Bechor. You can't say for sure it's not a Bechor. Maybe that was the first one. Out of doubt, we're giving the Kohen the lesser quality one. But the first one also has to be treated as a doubtful Bechor, and we'll soon see what you're supposed to do with such an animal. Meis echad mehem. What if one of them then proceeded to die? One of the two males born here died. So now all you have left is one animal that it's a doubt whether it's a Bechor or not. Ein la kohen klum. The Kohen gets nothing. Shazeh hachai sofeku, because the only remaining animal is a doubt. And if the Kohen comes to extract it from the owner will say, we have the classic rule in halacha, when you want to get something out of me and it's a doubt, you have to prove it. When there was both of the animals were alive, so one of them is certainly a Bechor, so the Kohen has to get one. We can just give him whichever one we want, in this case the weaker one. But if there's only one to begin with, and that itself is in doubt, the owner will hold on to it and not allow the Kohen to get it. Same thing if the animal gave birth to a male and a female, also twins. one male, one female. Here the doubt is a little bit different. You're just not sure if the male was born first. If it was born first, that's the Bechor. If not, it's not a Bechor. The male animal is in doubt. For perhaps the female animal exited first. Therefore, also in this scenario, the Kohen will get nothing because the person who seeks to extract from a friend has to bring the proof if he wants to extract it. Halacha Beis, let's introduce another animal into the mix here. We have two female sheep that never gave birth before. They're both carrying their first pregnancy. And they gave birth to two males. That means each one gave birth to a male. So in this case, the halacha is obvious. Shneim lakoyin, both animals go to the Kohen, even though we can't attribute which sheep came from which mom, but both sheep are Bechoros. So both go to the Kohen. Same thing if Zachar and Nekeva, if the two moms gave birth to one male and one female. At any rate, whoever is the mom of the male is a Bechor. And therefore, Hazachar lakoyin, the male goes to the Kohen. But what if it gets a little more complicated? Shnei Zacharim u'Nekeva. We begin again with the left case. There's two moms, both carrying their first pregnancy, and they give birth to three animals total. Two males and a female. So what you have to understand over here is that one of the males in this case is certainly a Bechor. Whichever way you spin it, one of the males is a Bechor. If this mom, let's say, gave birth just to one male, and this mom gave birth to the male and the female, so even if this male was born second, so it's not a Bechor, but this male is a Bechor. Same thing if it was the opposite. This mom gave birth to this mom gave birth to the male and the female. The point is the male is a Bechor. Even if you want to say that one mom had two males and the other mom had a female, well then one of the males again is a Bechor. So either way you look at it, one of the males is a Bechor. It could be, by the way, there is a case where both males are a Bechor. What is that case? Let's say this mom gave birth to one male and this mom gave birth to a male and a female and the male was first. Then both of them are a Bechor. But that's not for sure. Out of doubt, at least one of them is a Bechor. So therefore, says the Rambam, the Kohen can only take the weaker one. Because one of them for sure belongs to him. We don't know which one. We're going to give him the lesser quality one. But the second one is still in doubt. It might be a Bechor. You can't rule out with certainty that it's not a Bechor. And therefore you treat it like a doubt, which we'll see what to do with it in a second. If in this same scenario, one of the males dies, the Kohen cannot take anything. Because even the remaining male is only a doubt whether he's a Bechor. Maybe he wasn't a Bechor, maybe he was born together with the female twin, and the female was born first. And therefore, when the Kohen comes to extract it, he's going to have to bring the proof. He cannot prove for sure that this is a Bechor, and therefore he'll walk away with nothing. Yoldu, let's consider another case. Shtei nekevos v'zachar. Let's say the two animals together gave birth to two females and a male. Or shnei zacharim u'shtei nekevos, or two males and two females. Where here, you don't even have one male that's for sure a Bechor. In the last case, as I explained, at least one of the males is definitely a Bechor. In any scenario, whichever way you spin it. Here, there are scenarios to come up with a case where all the males will not be a Bechor. And of course that is in this scenario if both moms gave birth to a female first, and whoever had the male had it second. Same with over here. Even though both moms might have had twins, it's very possible that both moms gave birth first to a female and then gave birth to a male. So there are scenarios where none of the males are a Bechor at all. Now, obviously there are scenarios where they are a Bechor. If this male was born first, it's a Bechor. If these males were born first, they're a Bechor, of course. But what makes this case fundamentally different from the first one is that there are scenarios where none of them are a Bechor. Therefore, says the Rambam, the males to begin with are only doubtfully a Bechor. Because I could say, maybe the female was born first and only then the male. Therefore, the Kohen has no say. He can get nothing over here. Because one who seeks to extract from his friend has to bring the proof before he takes it. Now, what made all these cases a little bit easier to follow was that all of these cases were talking about new moms. The moms had never had children before. Now what if we throw in another wrench? What if achas bikra ve'achas shalei bikra? One mom had already had a child. A little bit of a different shape of the sheep. That's how we'll signify it. This is the mom that already had children. So any child that it has now is not going to be a Bechor. The second animal never had children before. So assuming that its first child will be a male, it'll be a Bechor. And together, these two moms are both pregnant, and they give birth to two males. So now, one of the males is certainly a bechor, because one of the males was born to this new mom. You just don't know which one it is. So therefore says the Rambam, echad loy ve'echad lakoyin. In this case, obviously, one will go to the owner, one will go to the kohen. But each one is a doubt whether it's the bechor, and therefore the kohen takes the weaker one, because we can only give him what we want, the lower quality one. If the same scenario, one of them dies, the kohen gets nothing, because the one that's alive is a doubt. Maybe it was born to the new mom and is a bechor, but maybe it was born to the prior mom and it's not a bechor. Same thing if these two moms, the new mom and the old mom, the experienced mom, had given birth to a male and a female, so you're not sure about the male. If the male was born to this animal, it's not a bechor. If it was born to the new mom, it is a bechor. And therefore, in kan lakayin klum, the kohen gets nothing, because the male is only a doubt whether he is a bechor. Now, in a bunch of these cases we just said that you have to treat certain animals as a doubtful bechor. What do you do with a doubtful bechor? Halacha gimel kol bechor shu safek, any bechor whose status is in doubt. Dinoi, the law is sheyira at sheyipol b'mum, that you let it graze till it gets a blemish. V'ye'ochel li ba'olav, and then who gets to eat it? The owner gets to eat it, not the kohen. The owner can keep it because it's a doubt whether it even belongs to the kohen. And as long as the kohen can't prove it, the owner keeps it. But like we always rule when it comes to doubt, if the kohen seizes without asking the court, without consulting a rabbi, if he grabs hold of the animal in question, now he's the one with possession, and we cannot extract it from his hand, and he waits till it gets a blemish, and then he can eat it. Offering is not an option. You never offer unless it's a definite, certain bechor. Otherwise, you might end up slaughtering an animal which is mundane in the temple courtyard as a sacrifice, which is totally prohibited, a very, very extreme prohibition. A person has a flock of sheep. They're all pregnant. Some of them are giving birth for the first time. Some of them are not giving birth for the first time. They all give birth. Nobody was there to witness the birth. Then he comes into this pen, and he comes in and he finds a very interesting phenomenon. All the animals that had given birth for the first time are nursing female animals. All the animals that had given birth already once before are nursing male animals. If each mom is nursing its kids, you now have no bechors in this flock, because the new moms all had females, and all the males were born to previous moms that already had an older sibling. What if the nursing got mixed up? What if some moms are not nursing their kids? Then maybe one of the males was born to the new moms, in which case one of these males is a bechor. Says the Rambam, you don't have to worry for that. You don't have to suspect perhaps the son of one animal went to another animal, and the son of this animal went to that animal. The matter remains under its presumption, that every mom is nursing its child. And therefore, in this particular scenario, none of your animals will have to be a bechor. Two people deposited two male animals by the shepherd. That means each one deposited one animal. One of them was a firstborn, the other one was a regular animal, was not a bechor. And one of them dies. The shepherd, who doesn't know the identity and you got mixed up, which is the bechor, which is not, he leaves the second one to the two people and he leaves. He's not responsible. Was fake bechor. And the animal is left as a doubtful bechor. So they both must split it. Because the case is talking about where neither one recognizes which is his animal. So therefore, they both lose out. They both have to treat it as a holier animal than, let's say it was the regular one, then it could just be taken home and be eaten for dinner. But because it might be a bechor, you must treat it as such, and therefore, you treat it as doubtful bechor, and you divide it. Means you sell it and you divide the proceeds once it gets a blemish. Halacha vav hifkid bechor etzel ba'alabayis v'hiniche ba'alabayis im pashut shalai. Bit of a different case. Not a shepherd, not a professional shepherd. You had a bechor, and you bring your bechor to a regular guy, regular homeowner, and the homeowner puts your bechor with his own animal that's pashut, that's not a bechor at all. One of them dies, you don't know which one. When the kohen comes to extract the animal and say that it's mine, the bechor, we say, no, how do you know? Maybe it's not yours. But maybe it is a bechor. So you must treat it as doubtful bechor. Even if it was a kohen who was a shepherd, he places his bechor. So the kohen previously owned it. He places it in the courtyard of a homeowner, together with the homeowner's regular animal, non-bechor, when one of them dies, now it's in the possession of the homeowner. If the kohen wants to take it out, says, oh, maybe it's my bechor, he cannot unless he has a proof. You cannot extract any animals from the courtyard of the homeowner unless there's proof. Because it was with the consent of the owner of the bechor that it was placed together with the non-bechor. If you wanted to keep your bechor separate, you know what you would say? Hey, I'm depositing this by you. Do not mix it with any of your personal animals. Since he did, and it was done with the depositor's consent, now that one of them died and you know which one it is, it's your problem. You cannot take anything out of this courtyard without proving that it was actually yours. Halacha Zayin, le'nechshedu Yisrael ala Bechoros. Even though we mentioned in a previous chapter that Kohanim are suspect of blemishing Bechoros so they can get a hold of it, regular Jews are not. Regular Jews are not suspect to mistreat a Bechor because they have nothing to gain. Whether it's unblemished, whether it's blemished, it's going to the Kohen. Lefichach, therefore, Nemana Yisrael leimar, a Jew, a regular Jew, is believed to say, Zes fake bechorhu, this animal in my possession is a doubtful bechor, which here there is a little bit what to gain. Because a doubtful bechor, as we said, the owner gets to keep. But since regular Jews are not suspect when it comes to bechor, he can say that it's a doubtful bechor. The expert will inspect the blemish, and the owner himself could eat it with a blemish. Because again, there's no suspicion over him. Halacha ches, we mentioned in chapter 1 that if an animal has become holy as a sacrifice, and then it gets pregnant and has its first child, the laws of Bechor do not apply to it. It doesn't apply to Mukdashim. The Rambam now gets a little bit more into this halacha. Kol HaKadashim, shekadam lahem mum kavua lehekdesham. You have an animal which has been consecrated, but really, if you look at it, it had a permanent blemish before it was consecrated. So it could never have been offered as a sacrifice, to begin with. Now you consecrated it, v'nifdu, and it was redeemed, as the law is, that when a sacrifice has a blemish, you just redeem it. Now that it's been redeemed, chayavin b'vchayra, it resumes being obligated in the laws of firstborn. If it now gets pregnant and has its first child, that first child will be considered a holy bechor. However, v'im kadam mum oiver lehekdesham, if all it had before it was consecrated was a passing blemish, that means technically speaking, when you consecrated it, it could have been brought as a sacrifice after it would recover. Or it was even better, you sanctified it when it was completely unblemished. And only afterwards it got a permanent blemish, and therefore it was redeemed. At this point, it's even going forward, it's exempt from future Bechor laws. Because as we learned in the end of the last book, even when you redeem a disqualified sacrifice, it doesn't become fully mundane. They're still forbidden to be shorn or to be worked with, as we explained in the laws of sacrilege. And therefore, even in the future, down the line, now that it's already been redeemed, Bechor doesn't apply to it. In the first case, where to begin with had a permanent blemish, it never became fully holy. So when it becomes unholy, it becomes fully unholy. But in this case, it became fully holy, and therefore it never becomes fully unholy, and the Bechor laws never apply to it. Let's say a person buys an animal using funds from the second tithe. I'll repeat it again, just because it's so important to remember this. Every time a farmer cuts crop or harvest, there's 2% goes to the Kohen, 10% goes to the Levi, another 10% is called Ma'aser Sheni. It must be taken by the owner to Jerusalem and eaten there. If you live too far from Jerusalem, where the food will perish or rot by the time you get there, you must transfer the holiness of the food onto money, take the money to Jerusalem and buy stuff there and eat it there. So let's say you brought your Ma'aser money to Jerusalem, and now you bought an animal. The animal doesn't become holy. Chayevas b'vchayra. If it becomes pregnant and has its first child, that first child has to be brought as a bechor. It's obligated in the laws of bechor. But if you buy an animal using funds from Shemitah, from the sabbatical year, which is not allowed actually, it's exempt from the laws of bechor. Because you aren't allowed to do business with merchandise of the Shemitah year. Because Torah says that all the fruits from the sabbatical year will be for you for eating, for eating, not for business. If we're going to make this animal liable to Bechor, you're going to be gaining something with this Bechor, because it's going to exit the law of Shemitah fruit, and it's going to now be transferred into a Bechor, which the Kohanim can then eat, and people can have benefit from it. So, therefore, if an animal is bought with Shemitah proceeds, there's no Bechor applying to it. Additionally, we already explained in the laws of forbidden foods, you cannot do business with any forbidden foods. So if you use that to buy an animal, same thing, Bechor wouldn't apply to that. We also explained in the laws of Truma, that it's forbidden to do business transactions with Truma. And the Bechors themselves cannot be used in transactions, even though they can be sold directly, just one sale, yes, but not for a profit-making business venture, as we explained. Let's say a person bought a Bechor animal, and he planned to use it for a wedding feast of his son or for the holiday, and then it turns out he doesn't need it. The wedding was canceled, they didn't make the trip, whatever it is. Mutar l'machra, he can sell it. It's not called making business because you meant to use it and now just, for whatever reason, circumstance prevented you, so you can just sell it off to the next person. Halacha Yud Aleph, Ein shamin b'chayres tmimim li Yisrael. We cannot do the system that's called shuma, literally means evaluation or appraisal, with an unblemished Bechor for a regular Jew. What is a shuma? A shuma basically is like a lease, kind of. You sell an animal for a specific amount, and there's a stipulation that the buyer needs to take care of the animal till a certain point. Then, as a partnership, they're going to sell the animal forward, and whatever profit is made is divided between them. Sounds a little bit complicated, but that's how the Rambam explains Shuma elsewhere in his commentary to the Mishnah. So you have the owner of the animal, sells it to this guy for a certain amount, for a certain time, after which he must sell it, and the profits are divided, whatever, over and above the amount that the original buyer paid. So that system cannot be done with an unblemished Bechor. But if it has a blemish, you can do that. This kind of appraisal sale. Also, nowadays, even unblemished Bechors may be appraised for Kohanim. So the owner of the animal gives it to a Kohen, and then he has to sell it, etc. Because anyways, they're going to be eaten as in their state of blemish, because an unblemished Bechor nowadays cannot be sacrificed. Needless to say that we can do this appraisal situation with a Bechor that's to begin with blemished nowadays, because certainly that's not going to be sacrificed, and the Kohen could use that as part of this appraisal venture.